Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I would like to start off by introducing myself, Brittany, and my team members, Jessica, Lily, Xavier, and Hamza. I'll start off by stating the overall problems that are outlined within this case study that are related to the consequences of gender equality within the Australian Army and Defence Force as a whole. I would like to include some relevant information from a peer-reviewed article on the history of females in the Australian Army written by Lance Corporal Hannah Evans. The Sex Discrimination Act was introduced in 1984. Although the Australian Army was exempted from its provisions during this time, the Australian Army originally created formal policies which outlined that female soldiers were not allowed to fulfil combat duties, even though the Act was designed to stop the discrimination of females in the workplace. How ironic. In May 1990, the sex discrimination policy was amended to allow women to serve in some combat-related positions with a trial period of 3 years, which opened up plenty of opportunities for female soldiers to enter the army. By 1992, it was decided that the combat exclusion policy would further be relaxed and it allowed women to serve in all combat positions. This was driven by the HMAS Swan incident to increasingly prevent sexual harassment and improve the treatment of women in the Australian Defence Force. The HMAS Swan incident refers to a number of sexual harassment allegations to individuals who had served on the Swan during the Asia deployment of 1992. Briefly, it explains that a female medical officer who was aboard the HMAS Swan had appeared distressed to one of her fellow officers, who then reported their concerns about the incident to their commanding officer. With further investigation, it was revealed that it was believed that a number of male officers who had been inappropriately discussing sexual comments made against her and unwelcome sexual conduct in relation to her. It was investigated by a board who believed it was not sexual harassment, but it was unacceptable behaviour. Still to this day, women are excluded from frontline positions such as special forces, infantry, artillery, and combat engineers. Prior to this, the anti-discrimination policy was changed, which allowed women to participate in training and deployments of those units, but were only employed as support aides. As situations arose while women performed their duties as support aides, it was considered that if women were ordered to the front line, they could be exposed to direct contact with the enemy. This policy provided irrelevant, particularly given the nature of warfare. Since then, it has been revealed the importance of female members in such combat units. It improves the capability of some vital components in our operations, such as Transit Security Elements, TSE, which comprises of both female and male soldiers. Apart from their duties, it is to search and secure vessels for potential immigrants. The TSE illustrates the relevance of gender to the role and more so the importance of the individual's ability to perform within a highly skilled team. Now, when it comes to the general warfare, the teams are deployed by their ability to perform, not related to gender or ranks. Even though there may be a direct threat from enemy attack, which everyone must be prepared for, in Afghanistan, female soldiers have used their gender as an advantage to gain cultural advantage to increase force capability. They use their abilities to actively interact with the female population, collecting vital information which is used to map future operations. Now back to the case study. It talks about the time in which Lieutenant General David Morrison was appointed Chief of the Australian Army in June 2011. Little did he know that within the first 4 years of his career, he would create a massive wave of effects in the Army's sexual harassment and gender equality culture. It was arranged by the then Sex Discrimination Commissioner Elizabeth Broderick for General David Morrison to meet with several female officers who had experienced abuse, discrimination, harassment, and bullying while serving. This created a commitment, which was followed by a 3-minute video by Lieutenant General David Morrison, who shared with the Australian Army via YouTube to address the issue and that it was unacceptable behaviour and it will not be tolerated, which we'll play in the slide. Following the next 2 years, General David Morrison focused strongly on rebuilding the Army's culture around talent, inclusion and supporting diversity. Once he retired in May 2015, females of the Australian Army represented 12% of the Army workforce, 25% of the Australian Defence Force Academy cadets, and 20% of cadets at the Royal Military College at Duntroon. After his retirement, he continued to strive and succeed with setting extreme examples of gender equality and diversity. He then joined the Diversity Council of Australia as its new chair, which he was also named Australian of the Year 2016 with his commitment to change. I would now like to introduce Jessica, who has information on theoretical underpinnings.